Hello, welcome. Please, come sit down. My name's Jason Brown. I'm founding publisher of Illinois News Joint, the premier resource for the Illinois cannabis industry. All right, first I'd like to thank the Flower Expo for having us and partnering with us. We appreciate you guys including us. We think this is good for the industry, and we're happy to be here. So the whole Flower Expo team, there's plenty of them. To start off, we'd like to go down here and just start here, down the panel, and have them introduce themselves, tell them who they are, and what they're doing here.
Cool. What's up, everybody? How's it going? Happy, what is it, Tuesday right now? It's very exciting to be here. Flower Expo. Hey, guys, I'm Kyle Sherman. I'm the founder and CEO of Flowhub. We're the fastest growing software company in cannabis today. We're really proud of that. We're backed by PayPal, Kraft Heinz, Headline, and we power retail in this space. And so thousands of dispensaries use our software every day to check in consumers, check out consumers, manage their inventory, use awesome AI tools to run reports in their retail environment. And so really stoked to be here in Illinois today. Come say hello. Our booth's over there.
Hello, everybody. My name's Elizabeth Rice. I am the Director of Sales Operations at KIVA, which KIVA makes all the Camino, Lost Farm, Camino bars, Terra, and Petra mints. I've been with KIVA for 3 years, but in the industry for 6 years. Prior to cannabis, I spent 20 years in the wine industry doing international sales and managing countries and continents. But I took all that experience into cannabis here, and I'm loving every minute. And I always like to throw out there, I love the cannabis and wine. I'm an official ganjier, and so I geek out on all the tasting.
Hey guys, my name is John Hirsch. I'm with Socíale Dispensary, and like most of everybody in this room, I am a buyer. Shout out to all the buyers in the room. Socíale is located in Park Ridge. We're an equity store. We're woman-owned. If you're by the O'Hare Airport, stop by. We're only about 5-10 minutes away. Before Socíale, I'm from Illinois, but most of my time was spent out in California. This is actually my 20th year in the industry. It's kind of hard to believe, but pretty much worked my way up to owning a dispensary and delivery service for about 10 years. And then when the California market kind of went crazy, I decided that I want to get back home, be a little closer to the family, and check out the Illinois scene. So I'm about 2 years back here in Illinois, and super happy to be here.
Hello, everybody. My name is Marne, and I'm also known as the Queen of Terpenes. I am the owner of Fleur Verte Academy. We are a cannabis business consulting firm. So we help brands get on shelves in the cannabis industry. And we also help people get into the industry in regards to application writing and also even with negotiating contracts, as you all can see, very important in today's time. Very happy to be here learning more about the Illinois market, bringing some of what we do in other states to the table in the infrastructure in Illinois. And I'm excited to learn more today and to give advice on what we're seeing in retail across the country.
Thank you. I think I forgot to mention that if you don't know, this is shaping tomorrow's cannabis market, sales, retails, and beyond. And there's a lot of beyond in this market for everything. So most of these questions we're going to ask, we'll just go down the line. You can ask or answer or skip, or if you don't want to. Most of them is about retail, the Illinois industry, how it's done, advantages, that type of stuff. The first one is, where do you see the greatest untapped opportunity in the cannabis market right now?
That's a very deep question. Untapped opportunity in cannabis. You know, I think it's actually really interesting, right? We're a space where we've had to invent a lot of our own ways of doing things because external companies don't want to actually work in this space. People that don't touch cannabis don't necessarily want to be in cannabis. And I think there's a lot of opportunity over the next 5-10 years where we're going to see a lot of external companies start to play in this sandbox with us finally. That includes, banking relationships, includes software companies. And so I think there's a lot of opportunity to bridge, what's happening in cannabis today with a lot of these external players. And I think, consultants like yourself, right, this is an amazing opportunity to help guide and shepherd these people into this market, which is largely really confusing for external folks. As we all know here, you kind of, as you get into cannabis over many years, you realize how nuanced the space is, which can be very frustrating, but there's a lot of opportunity in that. And so a lot of these bigger companies don't really know what they're doing. And I think that bridging those gaps are going to be really important in the coming years.
Which is a good connection to my answer is data. Data management and using data to make decisions is really the biggest opportunity I feel that the industry has, because now we're finally getting data that we can trust, that we know is more reliable. So then we take that data and then we use it to make decisions versus us like putting our finger in the air and hoping, it sticks when we throw it against the wall. So I see a huge opportunity for this industry to start making educated decisions utilizing accurate data sets.
Yeah, I think that data is super important. I'm going to go a little different direction with this one. I'm going to say that brands that can create lifestyle experiences, brands that can create things that can connect directly with their consumers or with their bud tenders, I think that's an untapped opportunity. Taking, whether it's entertainment, whether it's sports, whether it's all these other food, taking cannabis and pairing it with those things, and then creating experiences like around that. I think that's one opportunity that I see some brands in this room today that are doing, whether it's doing stuff like golf outings or kayak tours or different events that kind of give the brand identity. Tapping into those opportunities and reaching your consumer directly, I think that is something that's going to be big coming up.
And I would say I would love to round this up with that, because everything you all said goes to what Kyle said is ancillary companies, right? So you all touch base on exactly what everyone could be doing, even collecting data and being that company that helps to correlate what those particular numbers look like. There's a space for that as well. And we talk about the events, cannabis restaurants, lodging. Every state has different legislation. So when we hone in on the things that we can and can't do in our specific markets, it allows us to open up that room for other opportunities. So I preach all the time inside of our consulting company, ancillary is the way to go, and it's also a great tax-free way to go.
This question connects to that, I think so, and a little bit. You've already touched on it some, but when it comes to pricing, variety, shopping experience, how are the consumers evolving in that from that we have 5 years ago to where we're at now to maybe even where we're at in 5 more years?
Well, I think speaking for today, right, especially in Illinois here, shoppers are starting at deals, right? When they're hopping onto your e-commerce website, right, they're clicking that deals button and they're seeing what deals you have, which means price is getting them in, but experience is what's going to keep them coming back, right? And so, I think there's a really interesting thing here, which is like, how do you have to ask yourself, how do you keep people coming back, rather than just deal seeking consistently? I'm actually super curious what you guys are doing at your dispensary. But there's really 2 types of buyers, right? 2 types of consumers. You have the value-driven consumers. That's the majority of Illinois. About 70% of Illinois consumers are value-driven. And the other 30% are premium buyers. They're looking for solventless craft products, those limited edition products, those limited edition drops. So I think, look, lastly here, bud tenders today guide choices, right? When you go in to the dispensary, they're really guiding your whole experience, right? So that connection, that training is so important for retailers today. And you have to question, how can you do that well online, right? Because you do lose part of that. Is AI really the answer? Maybe. But I think, today in 2025, you still have to remember training your bud tenders is so incredibly important on the tools they have and on the brands that they carry in store.
The way I really see the consumer evolving also is there's more brands here, there's more education, so then their expectation of those brands is higher. They're going to expect the quality to be better. They're going to pay even more for something that meets their needs. So people no longer are they like, oh, there's only a few products to choose from, I'll just take whatever I can get. Now they actually have a choice and they have education and knowledge to where now they can choose things they need and they can also choose things that are better quality. So gone are the days where you can put a crappy tasting gummy out there and you're going to succeed. You're not. You have to have quality taste and effect, and then of course a price point to match that in order to meet the customer needs these days.
Exactly. Well-rounded, and I think they both hit the nail right on the head, and great responses there. Really comes down to the education. If you're bud tenders, and I tell my staff, like, you know, what do you guys like? What do you guys want samples of? Sell that stuff. Because like he said, you know, Illinois is such a deal-driven market. When people come, you know, they're just looking to see what's the highest THC and, you know, what's the cheapest price. And that's just kind of how the Illinois market is. Like he said, 70% is deal-driven, 30% is connoisseur. So if you're a premium brand, you really got to invest in the bud tenders. You really got to invest in the educational side, because price is a factor, and that gets people in the door, but that doesn't mean loyalty. So it really comes down to the whole shopping experience, the bud tenders being trained, having a good e-com, having a good website. I mean, that's almost as important as having a good bud tender, in my opinion, because if your website or your menu isn't good, your pictures aren't good, it's not functioning correctly, you're losing customers right away. So I think having a good website or e-commerce is just as important to get those customers in and staying loyal to your business.
I want to add one more thing if I can, just real quickly.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to steal this one. You know, I would recommend to everyone in this room, go walk through the customer journey. It's really easy when you're in your day-to-day, right, to forget about what the consumer's going through. And one thing I always recommend to folks is just go walk down the same path that your customers are walking down, right? Go try to buy online. Is it hard? Do you have down to the penny accuracy in that cart total? Are your taxes adding up? Are they displayed properly on a receipt, right? Are your pictures good?
Yeah. Well, and I think this is especially important in Illinois. Illinois is quite different than other markets in the U.S. In Illinois, 60 to 70% of the buying decisions is made online on the website. Other states are about 30 to 40%. So it's just that much more important for your website to be good when 70% of your customers are purchasing on it.
Exactly, because unlike other states, we have no deli style here. We have no way to actually engage with the products in the store. So we're at such a disadvantage compared to California, Michigan, and Oklahoma, and these states that have this interactive store experience. So that's why the website is so important, as well as the bud tenders, obviously the most. But
So I definitely wanted to add, like you said, the education. I think in 3 to 5 years, the health and lifestyle aspect of branding is going to be very important. Yes, when you guys build that tech and that sales infrastructure, you have to have something that the consumers are going to have those heartstrings pulled, you know. And as we can see, storytelling is what is successful and sustainable in cannabis right now. And you guys are doing a great job in Illinois. I had a great time meeting a lot of different brands and seeing you know, where they've come from and where they're going. So I do see that bigger when they connect education, when we're able to say, hey, I'm going to the gym, I'm using these products before I go to the gym or after the gym. So definitely figuring out everyone's role, and then obviously we have to push those products and get those sales in. So I think focusing on what consumers want to see in their day-to-day with cannabis is very important for what we'll see in 3 to 5 years.
Joking earlier at the my table over there, the first year when I was looking for edibles on the menu, it was gummies and chocolates, and that was it. Now we have a lot more. There's just a lot more variety. There's a lot more products of all kinds, not just edibles, and more coming out every month here in Illinois. So how do you secure retail space and offer it on the other side? How does that dynamics work?
You know, I think one thing a lot of brands forget is that, you know, shelf placement is purely vanity. The brands have to help the retailers sell through those products, right? This is a true relationship, right? And so if you just have a pretty product sitting on the shelf, that's no good to a retailer, right? And so, you know, retailers want velocity. They don't want vanity placement. So you have to figure out, how can we partner with retailers to make sure that we're helping them sell through online, that they learn about my brand, that my brand has a heart and a soul to it, and there's a reason I'm attracted to it. Maybe it's consistency. KIVA's got that down to a science across all these states, right? Just absolutely consistent. And so all of that really matters to a retailer. If you're a new brand, it's gonna be hard to show up, and if you have nothing to offer, what kind of partnership is that?
Yeah, no, you're totally right about that. And I love to again back to data. We like to come to the buyers when we're pitching and talking about our products and show them the numbers, show them what the sales velocity is in the neighboring stores, showing them what the revenue generation could be if they list another SKU of our products. Because at the end of the day, we need to help retailers sell products and drive revenue. And another conversation I really love to have is the difference between profit and margin percentage. You cannot take a percentage to the bank, you take dollars to the bank. And so when I run into dispensaries that are like, well, we have to have this % margin, and then I show them the math, that yeah, you might make a little less percentage on ours, but you're bringing more dollars into your account. And that's a very important conversation to be having, I feel, these days.
Show me the data. I mean, that's really like what it comes down to. Show me that your product moves. Not just tell me, not just say, oh, this dispensary down the street is doing a lot of stuff, doing a lot of numbers. I want to see the actual data. I want to see the support. The best sales reps, the best account managers are the ones that really get invested. Whether you're the biggest guy on the block or you're the smallest guy on the block, whatever it is, just being invested in that relationship, keeping up good communication, and understanding what works and what doesn't work, and if something's not working, being able to change it. Certain stores, like not every product's gonna work at every store. Like, for example, like at my store, we don't sell a lot of like savory edibles. We don't sell a lot of like cookies or chocolate stuff. So I've run the data. I've done the data, and these SKUs they just don't do well. They don't perform well at my store. So unfortunately, maybe that's why we don't buy your brand or your product. It has to be right for the store, and it has to have the data and the science to back it up. Not just like the vibe of the product or.
Well, and you're totally right. Like you, as a brand, you're not going to get 100% distribution because your product will not work in some stores. KIVA is a premium product, so we know in very value-driven stores, we're going to have a hard time. And as a brand, you have to be okay with that. You have to go, okay, we're not going to be in every store. Let's be in the right stores.
For me and the clients that I see and the people that are inside of these markets that have not been successful enough to partner and have these sale analytics, right? So it starts here with networking. And I think that it's very important that is a cornerstone as you build inside of creating your brands. We have to start somewhere, So it is hard for those smaller brands to have those conversations with the director of sales, and the sales managers as well. So getting out here, connecting with people that can help you get to those tables is very pivotal.
One of the things I'm interested in is outside of the dispensary and outside of that area, how are the brands pushing forward their brand, or and the dispensary is the same thing? Is it through events like this? And if so, how do you choose on the marketing side which ones you're going to or which ones you're participating in? There are so many more events. There are more events this year in Illinois on the cannabis side than there has been since we've started. And I don't see that, decreasing any. It's just going to get more. So that's more competition. So, we host events and we want people to come. How do we get people there?
I think cannabis sells itself. I think that you say, hey, this is what we're doing, but you guys have definitely flooded the market with events, and I think that is definitely the way to gain exposure. But how do you all feel with events? Like, do you feel oversaturated? Like, how does that look?
As a brand, there's so many events and we get asked to do so many. We can't do them all. One, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. It takes a lot of money. And we have to make sure we're focusing our time and money into the right places that drive revenue and develop our products and brands. And so it means we can't do everything. And so the way we look at it is, first, is the event, does it fit our need? Who is it marketing to? Is it selling? Is it talking to buyers? Or are we talking to consumers or bud tenders? And we try to do an amount of each, so we're talking to buyers and bud tenders and consumers. But I have to be honest, it's hard to do the consumer ones. They tend to be really expensive. They tend to take a lot of time. And so we tend to lean more into the trade and bud tender type activity in terms of budget and allocation.
Coming from California market, I must say Illinois does a great job with events. I'm really impressed at a lot of the events I've been to out here. But I guess it's kind of what I said earlier. It's the events that really touch either the consumer or the industry person, and then really gravitating towards those what the company, the type of person they want to reach. Whether it's like that kayaking experience I talked about, or a food experience, or like rhythm with the music. It's really like investing in who your key market is and then just going in that direction. And for stores, I really think stores should be involved in as many events as possible, personally.
We touched a little earlier on the future of where Illinois cannabis industry is going to be. And I always say that each state is its own petri dish. We did it through legalization, through a bill. Others have done, referendums. There's all different ways that each state's been doing it. Where do you think Illinois is going to be in 5 years or even maybe 10 years with just total dispensaries, brands, and that aspect of it?
I think Illinois has done a phenomenal job. There's 263 dispensaries in this market. Last year, those dispensaries sold $2 billion of products. That is going to grow. And I think it's really important to note, if you look at a state like Oklahoma, where it's truly just, you can go get a license for $3,000, right, open up a store. You get to a town with 500 people and there's 10 dispensaries in it. That doesn't really help consumers. It doesn't help businesses. It doesn't help anybody. And so I think Illinois has actually done a phenomenal job of really managing supply and demand. In fact, the average dispensary in Illinois does about $8.5 million a year per door, which is incredible, right? In other markets like Oklahoma, it's $138,500 a door, right? So very, very, very different economics as a business owner, which allows you to invest directly back into your business more aggressively, offer a better consumer experience, maybe carry new products you wouldn't have considered carrying. You can pay your bills on time, which is obviously really important. So economically, I think Illinois is really set itself up to be one of the leading states economically in the cannabis industry over the next decade. So really excited about this market, actually. I think this is a phenomenal place to do business, y'all.
And in terms of category trends, we definitely see a pattern starting to happen in markets as they develop, and I'm positive it'll happen here in Illinois also. But as more consumers keep coming in the industry, categories like vape and edibles are going to grow. And this is proven in California just 2 months ago, vape surpassed flower. Flower is no longer the top-selling category in California or Washington State. I started pulling other states going, what are they doing? So both Washington and California, vape sells more than flower. Oregon, they sell the same amount. So I think that is an evolving market, and I definitely see Illinois moving to that same direction. And a lot of it is a flower, when people come into here, they typically won't go to flower. They go to things that are a little more comfortable, like drinks, like edibles, like vapes. And pre-rolls are kind of in that gray area where I see pre-rolls actually growing because of the convenience of them.
I think it's going to be sorry to tag onto this real quick. I think it's going to be very fascinating to see what happens with liquor stores and hemp beverages, right? We don't quite know how that's going to play out yet. And I'm super, super curious about this dynamic, right? It's fascinating.
That's what I was going to touch base on, so yeah, go ahead.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Sorry, I took
No, you're fine. Go ahead. So basically, in the next, 5 to 10 years, we're going to see how hemp is going to influence, a lot of the cannabis industry. I see a lot of different companies going in from, the THCA side, the different deltas. So I am very intrigued on how Illinois has already set up an infrastructure, but navigating through what that looks like from a national policy standpoint, and also very, very curious, and I'll be keeping my eye on consumer taxation. I think there has been a good medium in regards to, doing business in Illinois and what that looks like for me as a customer. So I'm just wondering how that's going to fluctuate in the next 5 to 10 years as well.
Well, I think an interesting thing on hemp I just wanted to say too was I know a lot of alcohol distributors and a lot of alcohol retailers, and they all, every single one of them, are telling me the velocity of hemp drinks is faster than alcohol now. They're selling more hemp. It's a growing category.
They're in restaurants. Everywhere you go, you can get a CBD seltzer now, right? And they're pretty good.
It's good, and I think this is good for cannabis. It's exposure. It's getting people, to try it and to realize it's not this evil drug they were told when they were growing up. Now they're like, oh wait, I actually feel good, and I wake up in the morning not hungover.
I think the future probably looks something like liquor stores across the country are going to be allowed to sell hemp beverages, and then the rest of the categories are going to belong to dispensaries. And we're starting to see that play out at the federal level, certainly with policy, which is pretty interesting. So I would not be surprised if that's the future we are creating right now.
Especially with the
We're
alcohol
ready
lobby
for it.
behind it.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely ready for it.
I would say, I think Illinois has done a good job of not over-licensing in a way, because we don't want to end up like Michigan or California where there's just too many retailers. I think Illinois has done a good job at keeping it limited, but keeping it growing at the same time. It's not stagnant. We still have new places opening all the time in all these new cities, but it's not so oversaturated. And kind of like what Jason said earlier, it's like back in the day, like an eighth was like $80 or something. I think we were talking about that. Like, the prices were crazy, a few years ago. We've seen a compression. We've seen prices go down over the past few years to be more sustainable, more in line with like the national market, to where like, you're not coming to Illinois and you're just saying, oh my God, I'm paying all these crazy taxes. I mean, the taxes are a little bit higher here, as we know, than other places, but I still think that with the growth, the prices have come down, and with new people coming on, new brands, it's kind of leveled the playing field. So like, we're not just stuck with all these MSOs dominating everything. We're having craft grows and smaller brands and more diversity in the market. And also to speak kind of what Elizabeth said with the category, I really see solventless coming on. More folks wanting to have more of a health conscious side to their cannabis. So I see like in Illinois a lot of processors and people going towards rosin, going towards hash, and going towards products that are more health conscious. So
if you look at the data, you can tell I'm data oriented. Just a couple years, not even two years ago, the MSOs controlled about 80% of the market here. The independent stores have been growing rapidly, and now they share. It's about 50% of the revenue flow through independent stores, and the other 50% go through the MSO stores, which is great. It's perfect for the consumer because it offers diversity now and choice and selection.
So how has like the relationship with the craft growers and you all as like the sales reps, like are you all able to have like them inside of your dispensaries? Like how does that partnership work with like the growers and then getting it to those MMPs and then to your shelves? How has that infrastructure been? In regards to like being able to purchase from like the craft growers, are they creating their own products under the craft grower licenses? And then they're able to come to your stores and then say, hey, this is what we have. Or, okay, so they have their own licenses in order to, okay.
And there's space for craft products. There's space for the multi-state products. Like, I really see this industry evolving into like the wine industry, go figure, where you have a shelf filled with brands, but they all fit different needs. They all fit different customer segments. This industry is not going to be like the soda industry or the laundry detergent industry, where you have 3 strong brands and that's it. You're going to have choices.
I feel as though with that, like the medicinal market, the craft growers have kind of taken control, and like said, the medicinal market, that's our baby now as far as craft growers. So it's more of selection of those more focused on terpenes and those pain ailments and things like that.
Well,
that's good.
In the industry, we all need to help craft growers. Like, it's hard being a small startup brand and not having that brand clout and the data to back it up. So as an industry, we need to help each other. We need to like support each other through this process and be kind to each other. This is not a cutthroat, let's fight each other down. That's not how we win. We win by helping each other, including the small craft brands.
Right, like if you're a craft grow, you want to reach out to your bud tenders all the time. Like, you want to do stuff focused towards bud tenders, probably. If you're like a bigger brand, like an MSO, you want to focus towards the general, consumer. So those craft grows, show yourself in the dispensary, come in, give samples. Like, that's what's really going to set you on the shelf ahead of an MSO brand.
I mean, by the way, this is where technology plays such a crucial role in that retail experience for consumers, right? If you have the right technology, in Flowhub, for example, when you check in a consumer, you can actually see previous purchase categories, recommendations about what to upsell them, and they're very personalized to that individual, and that's so important, especially the smaller you are. You want to make sure that you're targeting the right consumer, and the dispensaries you're selling to have the right technology to recommend your products back in to that smaller consumer base that's going to buy a premium product.
Perfect. I think that's great advice. As a consultant, working with those smaller, companies and brands, they really want to know, how do we get to those bigger conversations, and sometimes that can be a bit intimidating, but understand that the opportunity is there. So bigger companies do want to merge, so that's amazing.
By the way, you can look on the Crew website to see where price per gram is on our flower in Illinois and our concentrates. I can tell you right now, the one product that has the biggest decrease in price is concentrates in Illinois. Now that's because it started out at like $95. It was really expensive, but it has come down. How far do we go down before that's a problem? Where was there's a balance in some way. The consumers would say, I want it as cheap as I can get it. Retailers will tell you that there is a dropping point to where that's, not beneficial anymore. So Illinois is definitely on the highest side. We were ranked the highest per gram through recreational in any state. So how do we balance that?
Yeah, look, Illinois is the most expensive market still today for consumers and for products. Again, technology, this is where operational efficiency matters, right? You gotta squeeze every piece of margin you can out of the business. And that means no sloppiness when it comes, operationally to your dispensary, from the back of house operations, intake, through the sales process, carrying the right products on your shelves, making sure you have the right inventory. You don't have inventory aging on the shelf. You're not over promoting products, over discounting, right? All of this balance matters, and the only way to manage it well is through great technology. Very frankly, there's no other way to do it today, and it's shocking to me. It's shocking what some retailers put up with for so long because they're afraid of change. It's mind-boggling to me. They're literally killing their businesses every minute of every day because they're using ancient systems or systems not truly built for their business. So it's critical.
Well, in Illinois is especially important to pay attention to the profitability and to change and making sure you're maximizing every dollar because of the limitation of how much the consumers are allowed to buy here. They can literally only buy 500 milligram tins of my gummies in the store. So why would you have them buy a cheap value brand that you make a couple bucks on? Wouldn't you rather they buy a more premium brand that you can make maybe, $5, $10 on? It's not like Michigan where you can walk out with bag filled with product. You're so limited on what you could buy. It's so important you maximize your profitability.
Exactly. Yeah, the purchase limits. Exactly. That was another great point there. The fact that we can only make one purchase, unlike the other states, it puts us at a little bit of a disadvantage.
No, and just to touch base is definitely not chasing the price, those sales, the deals, Of course, it's hard sometimes because we're going to get penny rolls, in certain areas and things. But just as you all stated, that margin is very important. If you want to be profitable, you have to understand that you have a great product, this is the price, and those that are looking for great products will pay the price for. We're talking about, lab testing. Companies that care about the products they're rolling out to the consumers are going to do the back end work. So understanding that as a consumer, you are paying a little more, but you are getting a good quality, product from a great reputable brand. We were kind of touching bases about the lab testing for different products. Illinois has done a great job of keeping that list of recalls, very minimal. So commending you all on that, and I think that plays a role in why you all may be seen as, the most expensive, state. But that's okay because you all are doing it the right way, and it is great in order for us to take this and then see what it looks like in other states as we're continuing to learn what cannabis looks like.
Yeah, what I was gonna say before was like make sure like your menu curation is the most important. Like have a curated menu, not just a big menu. Not just like, oh, I've got all these different choices. I've got thousands of products. That's not gonna work. Like that's not gonna work. You need to take your data, you need to comb through it, make sure it's accurate, and then you need to really curate a list that you're comfortable with of SKUs that you know that are gonna move and not be overstocked.
Well, it's hard to know what you guys are looking for nowadays. You know, not wanting to limit themselves, but as you stated, having those 3 tiers, like, hey, this is who we are. You know, honing down and focusing in on what got you to the table, what got you inside of those conversations. It's important to time how you're expanding. Don't do it too soon. Build a great brand.
And one thing too, when you curate your menu and you have exactly what your customers want, you maximize your profitability, please keep it in stock. Out of stocks is a huge issue in this industry because there's just a lack of category management programs that really set par fill levels and really understand how to avoid out of stock. So that's detrimental to everyone when out of stocks happen.
Inventory management.
Yeah, exactly. This is where technology matters. I got to give a little shameless plug for Flowhub. We've got an amazing report for those of you that use the system called our automatic par levels report. It uses AI to tell you about how many you need on a shelf at any given time. It recommends when to go buy products. It takes 2 clicks to run this report, and it works really well. And so you got to make sure you're using your tech fully too. You might have another system today. Go check and make sure. Maybe there's a report there you could use that will help you determine what you should be running and when.
If you're a buyer in this room and you're not using some type of buying assistance program, whether it's Flowhub, Headset, Happy Buyers, any of these programs, you're doing yourself a disservice because the spreadsheet method, in my opinion, is outdated. Trying to go through these spreadsheets all the time, it takes way too much time. Having a par level program like Flowhub really makes a huge difference in someone like me spending a lot less time ordering.
We love pivot tables, but we feel like doing it directly out of the system is better.
Right.
And I was gonna, and that kind of goes to the point. Make sure the people on your team are skilled inside of what the position. You know, we're looking at something, but if I don't understand what I'm looking at, I'm doing a disservice to the company as well. You know, and pivot tables are important. So being able to understand that on so many other levels with all the other data. We got to make sure that our teams are equipped for what they're looking at and implementing those different changes, you know, in operations. So.
All right, we kind of touched on bud tenders, importance of that front line in the industry. Would you say the same about the brand ambassador? It's kind of the same thing, but outside the dispensary, and that's kind of the first contact sometimes you have with the customers. And what's the importance of that and trying to find the right team and the people to do it right, and then finding, again, the right places to go. You know, I think we talked about this, you know, do we always stay inside this industry and keep our promotions inside that and our strategies, or do we get outside of it and try to find, a minor league baseball team or whatever it is to try to include more people for a bigger audience?
Education and exposure is really key, and the more we can do, the better. The problem is this industry is tight on money, tight on budgets. We pay too much taxes, so it's hard to hire a huge BA team and say, okay, go out and go to all the colleges and network and go to do like 100 pop-ups. We did ROI evaluations on pop-ups, and in the moment it's quite negative. But as a new brand and a brand that's building, it's important because it educates. So it's a long-term investment. So you need to think of things like BAs and external type marketing activities more long-term, not short-term.
Yeah, I'll tell you, we've got a large customer in Florida, a retail customer, and it's very vertical there, right? They've got to sell their own products, so they can't, they don't go buy wholesale. But I'll tell you what they do that's really, really cool. They sponsor surf events up in Jacksonville. They sponsor skate events down in Miami. And they're, the skaters are wearing their t-shirts and the surfers are riding their boards. And this is a cannabis retailer and a cannabis brand. And it's amazing because their stores now do about 5-6x of the average store in Florida. And they're a smaller footprint than many of the MSOs down there. But I'll tell you, they've nailed the lifestyle so well. They're not selling cannabis, they're selling the lifestyle. And it is they have catalogs in their stores you can grab. They'll throw them in a bag that come out throughout the year. And it's this whole brand experience. You can't help but love it. And so, in fact, if you go to like the Miami airport, you'll see just random consumers wearing their merch because it's so cool. I wear their merch around. My kids know their logo. That's kind of strange, but they're Canna kids, right?
I was going to say the best thing about cannabis is that it does pipeline into a lot of different markets and industries. We're talking about using material to build homes. We're talking about education, making paper again. So there are so many things that this plant helps to create conversations in so many other rooms that as we continue to learn more about what we can do, goes to your point of education. Once we understand that there is so much more beyond, the consumer and the consumption aspect, we're going to get a huge cannabis industry. And I look forward to seeing the innovators and creators find their ways outside of ownership. I know for so many people that federal license is like that holy grail. It's like, this is what I want, but again, going back to those particular policies and stipulations that are inside of licensing, when you go outside and you do ancillary business, you do find other opportunities, so.
Brand ambassadors are everything, in my opinion. Like, I can look around this room and I can think of like 5 people in this room that come into my store and do a great job at selling their product directly to the consumer. Having a brand ambassador that's like trained, that loves your brand, that wants to sell it, and the dispensary allows them to come in on the sales floor and push that product directly to the consumer, the sales like triple. If you got a pop-up or a brand ambassador guy or girl that comes in and just stands there, just has a table set up and handing out merch, but doesn't interact, doesn't engage, that doesn't do anything. So if companies are going to spend money on brand ambassadors, if they're going to spend money on this stuff, make sure the people are enthusiastic, they're trained, they love what they do, because it makes such a difference. And it also kind of helps out the dispensary sometimes, because when a customer comes in and they want to like learn directly about this brand, they talk to the brand ambassador and they get sold. Like, the brand ambassador is almost like an extra bud tender. They're almost like an extra staff member for you in a sense. So it's kind of, I like brands that have the brand ambassador. I mean, not every brand has one, obviously, but the ones that do and that come in and do the actual like selling, that's where the brands get their money's worth, I think, when it comes to the brand ambassador.
It's a real partnership.
Yes.
It's a real partnership that way.
Exactly.
Pop-up shops are very important. Yeah.
The better the brand ambassador, the better the ROI.
Right.
All right, I think we're almost running out of time, but I thought at least I would offer everyone to have a final word that says something on the way, for an or what am I not asking that I should be asking for this industry?
You should be asking about Flowhub's bong water, guys. We got bong water at that booth over there. This is water filtered through layers of bad POS technology. It's sourced from the tears of overworked bud tenders. Go check it out at that booth right over there.
Yes, and I was just going to say, we talk about brands and brand ambassadors that are doing it right. So Turk Bay out of Boston, Massachusetts, look for that brand. We're coming on different shelves across the country. And when you talk about an infrastructure that has lifestyle, it has influence, it's definitely a brand to look out for.
In my closing words, I know a lot of us are tired. This industry is hard. It's exhausting. 1 year feels like 10 years, but we've only just begun. This industry is still very much in its infancy. It has a lot of opportunity ahead of it, not just in the US, but globally. I cannot wait to start doing international sales again for a cannabis brand. That's my ultimate goal. We're getting there. Just be patient, work hard, and take care of yourself at the same time.
I just want to thank everybody in this room for being here personally and contributing to this amazing cannabis industry that we have here in Illinois. And like Elizabeth said, don't lose the fight. I mean, there's been plenty of times where I wanted to throw in the towel, but I'm so glad I didn't. And, keep at it, keep with it.
I constantly say, if you can't pivot or change on a dime or figure something out on the fly in this industry, you're just not gonna make it. You're just not. It's the fastest industry I've ever worked in. It's again, we have such gray area with the laws and everything, and people trying to push it to where we want it to go, and other people pushing where they want it to go. And there's always a battle on that side of it. I think that's all the time we have. I'd like to thank everybody and all the panel. Again, Flower Expo for having us. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you. Have fun, everybody.